Diplomatic relations between Russia and Turkey have suffered a major blow, of course. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov cancelled a planned visit to Turkey. He also warned Russian tourists against travelling to the country.
The Russian president has said that the incident involving the shooting down of a Russian fighter jet by Turkey cannot go unnoticed for Russia-Turkish relations. In this regard, Moscow has decided to cancel a planned meeting between our foreign ministries that was due to take place tomorrow. There is a growing terrorist threat coming from the territory of Turkey. Not taking into account today's incident with the Russian plane, we estimate this threat is not less than in Egypt, and therefore we don't recommend Russian citizens visit Turkey at this stage.
Meanwhile, many media outlets are trying to estimate what the downing of the Russian bomber jet could mean on a grander scale, and they're being less than optimistic. Some papers are in fact saying this is the start of World War III. Others assume we have witnessed the end of the peace process for Syria. RT's Ilya Petrenko is following the international reaction to the incident from Istanbul.
We cannot say that the Allies turned their back on Turkey. One of the first things Jens Stoltenberg, NATO Secretary General, said coming out of that emergency meeting of the bloc called by Ankara was that Turkey has the right for self-defense. But if we look at all the recent statements from Western leaders, self-defense was not the buzzword. The message that prevailed over calls to stand up for Turkey was, let's keep the minds cool. We need an urgent de-escalation.
I think it's very important right now for us to make sure that both the Russians and the Turks take measures to discourage any kind of escalation.
We are calling for now is calm and de-escalation.
Mais nous devons éviter toute escalade, qui serait extrêmement dommageable.
The Secretary General urges all relevant parties to take urgent measures with a view to de-escalate the tensions.
Now, just a little bit more than a week ago, this country hosted the G20 summit, and all the headlines tagged Turkey G20 were followed by the words like international leaders call for a world united against terrorism. And at that time, barely anyone could believe that in such a short while, Ankara, the host, could be responsible for what now many see as a degrading mess in international politics. Now, the last thing that Turkey's allies want to see right now is the situation to degrade even further and to lose and give up this consensus for a political solution in Syria and also a common goal to wipe out Islamic State that was reached at the recent summits. Now, here's what was said by the foreign minister of Germany, one of Turkey's key NATO allies.
This means that we may experience a setback in the Syria peace talks, and also that the hope of solving the conflict could vanish.
So as we can see, many fear that the incident over the Turkish-Syrian border will lead to some kind of setbacks and leave the consensus in jeopardy. Well, I'm following all the international reactions and developments coming out of Turkey for you.
Well, Middle East expert Gwyneth Todd believes Ankara is trying to drag NATO into a confrontation with Russia.
Turkey has been doing everything it can to drag NATO into its effort to unseat Assad from day one. This is no different. There is no way Turkey can argue that they face an existential threat from Syria or from Russia at this point. And to follow an aircraft in and shoot it down over Syrian airspace is frankly an act of war. And I think that NATO will stand aside and tell Erdogan in Turkey that we are not going to be dragged into a war against Russia.
Well, the downing of the Russian bomber has also raised questions over Ankara's bid to join the EU. An Italian MEP has voiced a bold view on Turkey's prospects.
Questo paese che per la preadesione negli ultimi anni ha preso dall'Europa 10 miliardi di euro, entro il 2020 ne prenderà ancora 4 miliardi e 6 e il risultato qual è? Che sono il 90% islamici che oggi hanno abbattuto un aereo russo solo perché per 17 secondi sono andati nel loro spazio aereo. Ma questi vogliono venire in Europa? Non possono venire in Europa. Questa bandiera no Europa.
Well, the rebel group backed by Turkey earlier released a video allegedly boasting to have killed one of the Russian pilots after he ejected from the downed jet. RT's William Whiteman has more.
US President Barack Obama has described rebels fighting in the north of Syria as moderate opposition. Here we can see shocking footage of rebel fighters reportedly machine gunning 2 Russian pilots attempting to parachute to safety. The pilots had just bailed out of their Sukhoi Su-24 fighter bomber, which was shot down by Turkish Air Force near the Syria-Turkey border.
Our comrades opened fire into the air. We all did. The pilots died in the air. Our fighters will bring the bodies here.
The gunmen engaging in this brutal act are from a rebel ethnic Turkmen group. Here we can apparently see this same group celebrating over the lifeless remains of one of the airmen. Let's find out a little bit more about these guys.
From the way they look, from the terms they were using as well, you know, these jihadist terms which are usually used by Al-Qaeda or its affiliates, we can safely assume that it's, you know, one of the extremist groups who share the same takfiri ideology as ISIS and as, you know, and like Jabhat al-Nusra.
These Turkmen rebels have reportedly been enlisted by Ankara to patrol the buffer zone Turkey has been hoping to establish in northern Syria. They are also documented as being sometime allies of so-called moderate rebel group, the Free Syrian Army. Is NATO prepared to stand by as its partner Turkey shoots down aircraft carrying out anti-terror operations? And will they also remain silent over Ankara's backing of yet another violent rebel group as it perpetrates war crimes such as this? Well, that remains to be seen.
Following the downing of the Russian jet, Washington has stressed Turkey's right to defend itself. That same right for self-defense was even brought up by the US State Department while talking about Turkmen rebels firing at the Russian pilots after they ejected from the plane. With more on that, here's RT's Guy Chichikan.
The State Department says it doesn't know the details of what happened, but at the same time, it's already making subtle excuses for Turkey, like saying Turkey has the right to defend itself. Of course it does, but was there any indication that Russia was going to attack Turkey? Anybody would tell you no. Even if you believe the Turkish version of what happened, the Russian plane, according to Turkey, has gone into the Turkish airspace for 17 seconds, apparently so close to the border that the Russian pilots in parachutes landed in Syria. Turkmen militia, which is a rebel group in Syria, claim responsibility for killing the pilots in the air as they were parachuting down, basically executing them. Turkey supports these Turkmen rebels in Syria. Here's what the State Department said about the rebels and their admitted killing of the Russian pilots.
If these Turkmen were actually being attacked by these Russian strikes, you know, they have every right to defend themselves. But that said,
and they have the right to shoot the pilots in parachutes?
We don't have a clear understanding of everything that happened today.
I mean, do you think that everybody has the right to defend themselves?
Well, we said very clearly that people have the right to defend themselves.
Including the Assad regime?
No.
No, they don't have the right to defend themselves.
No, look, there's a clear no, but I'm not going to accept your premise that I'm somehow giving.
Okay, well,
Assad,
you were the one that raised it.
Assad the right, you know, that I mean, what Assad wait, no, now that you've raised it, what Assad's regime is doing is hardly self-defense.
What I heard at the State Department was a response riddled with double standards and designed to shield its ally Turkey.
So the shooting of the Russian pilots has clearly left the US State Department cold. That despite the pilots coming under the protection of the Geneva Convention, of which America is a signatory. According to Article 42 of the Convention, no person ejecting from a plane in distress should come under attack while descending. And while the US is seemingly defending its interests in the Syrian conflict, ISIL is apparently becoming active right under Washington's nose. Later in the hour, we report on how Islamic State recruiters are trying to reach American students to fill the ranks of the terrorist organization.